So we have about 30 minutes. This has been awesome so far. I'm a boomer, so I don't stay up too late here, and I don't want to make you guys all stay up. So tomorrow's a big special day for me in Congress, and we will be celebrating the impeachment of Donald John Trump.
Is that what you think is going to happen?
Got him.
Not gonna happen?
You have a cake? What do you have prepared, Guy? What do you
Got
have?
him. So there's a whole bunch of storylines with some Democrats not going to vote for it? Are any Republicans going to vote for it? What's going to happen in the Senate trial? Are they going to bring witnesses? So I just got of curious if anybody who's been a little quieter on this topic wants to give their opinions on this whole impeachment thing.
I mean, do y'all really think you guys are going to get Donald Trump out of office and he's not going to get reelected? That's my only question I get asked. Do you really think all of this is going to stop him from getting reelected in 2020?
I don't think the Senate's going to kick him out. I think if somehow a miracle happened.
No, the Senate is absolutely Pxie, because the Senate is dominated by the Republican majority, and Turtle McConnell, I call him the Turtle. Turtle said he's not going to cater to the Democratic side.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going
to. He said he's not even going to allow a fair trial, which is a different thing entirely. Which
it doesn't matter. The thing about it is that this is just a waste of time. Y'all not going to get Trump out of there, and he's going to win 2020. And there's a strong chance because of all of this that the Democrats are going to lose the House.
Ooh, I don't know about that one, but
I don't know.
Let's put some money on it, baby. Come on, put some money on it.
I'd be down to put some money on that one.
I'll put some money on it. I'll put some fucking money down.
But look, you're right. I don't think they're going to remove him, but they stopped the scheme that he was running to try to fix the 2020 race. This was his little scheme.
What scheme?
To get Ukraine to announce that investigation was taking place against his rival, his political rival.
What?
The scheme.
Ukraine? You keep saying what? Like you? No.
Whoa, Ukraine.
This process also helped ensure that $400 million in sorely needed defense money went to our allies in Ukraine to help oppose Russia again. So it was good for that.
You're a Ukraine denier,
right?
Like a climate change denier.
He did not.
I realized that everything y'all threw at Trump did not stick. Okay, and you don't realize that you are basically energizing his base. Do you see how much money you're making this man? Okay, and also, just out of principle, people are so tired of the bullshit that they're just going to vote for Trump out of spite.
Where would it stick? If it were to stick somewhere, where would the stuff that we throw at Trump, right? Where would that stick?
I do know what you got. You know what?
In an impeachment trial.
No,
right?
no.
But if you're accusing someone of high treason, right, or whatever you're accusing Trump of, or campaign finance violations, or quid pro quos with Ukraine, or breaking the emoluments clause, right, the place where it would stick would be in an impeachment trial in the Senate. A trial that McConnell says he will not allow to proceed fairly. So it on the one hand, it's fair that you say, okay, the things that you've thrown at him don't stick. They can't stick. The establishment doesn't let them stick. And the entire the grand pomp that we sort of led up to with the impeachment, where we have an opportunity to have a trial, is being dismissed by the establishment.
Can you tell me, just help me out here, to tell me the specific crime that Donald Trump committed as president?
You don't have to commit a crime.
Well, that's anyways.
Yeah, we can impeach him just for
not.
Can I?
Requesting.
We're not gonna win.
In the UK. Listen.
Your question
You
was
guys are gonna be just like the people.
Let me have the answer. No way.
See how people are salty over there in the UK
and receiving something of value from a foreign government
and we're
in the
gonna be
process of a
crying
campaign.
just like them over here in America come 2020. You watch.
It is illegal.
Y'all gonna need so many antidepressant pills when he wins. I don't know what the fuck. Oh my God.
The crime in question here is how do you call it? Extorting like a foreign government for personal reasons, right? I don't know the exact terminology, but that is a crime. The people saying that technically you're right, you don't need to commit a crime to get impeached. That's true, but I don't like that argument. I don't want to go down that way. Because I think like there was a crime committed here that we can like talk about, you know? even if you're technically
what's
right.
The, what's the specific crime? I didn't get it.
I just wanted to correct what she was saying.
Okay, I'll find the specific.
Campaign finance violations, requesting and receiving aid from a foreign government, right? Like in both the case of the Russian hacking incident and Ukraine, requesting and receiving, right? In the case of Russia where he receives, and the case of Ukraine where he requests again, even just the request, the attempt, the conspiracy to commit that violation is against the law.
Well,
and if you're going to argue that it's not something of value that he's requesting,
no. From my
enemy,
as far as the Ukraine, I'm not. I don't know that one, so I thought maybe LCTRfan can give insight on that one. But from my understanding, is that it is not against the law and please correct me if I'm wrong. It is not against the law for President Trump to ask another political person to investigate something in their country. That's not against the law. Now I could be wrong, and I'm
that's right. No, that's right.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have a treaty with Ukraine that actually calls for both of our countries to investigate potential crimes and investigate corruption together and to cooperate and stuff. And so it's perfectly in line, perfectly okay. And in fact, Trump actually had a duty to the office to actually ask them to help investigate potential crimes by Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's not above the law. Joe Biden's not immune from prosecution.
It's not fine to hold over $400 million of aid before asking, right? Because then that makes it extortion.
Well,
indeed.
So do you think
congressionally appropriated money for a specific purpose entirely unrelated to Joe Biden or whatever, you're
so do you guys
there.
think then when Joe Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion in loan guarantees to Ukraine, that was also extortion and that Joe Biden should be thrown in jail for that?
We're not talking about throwing anybody in jail, but in terms of investigating Joe Biden, I'll do that.
Yeah,
you
sure,
can have Joe. You can have
the
Joe.
bus.
If we get Trump, you can have Joe. Yeah,
I'll take that trade actually.
But if Joe Biden was conditioning access to this $1 billion based on something similar, then yeah, that's a problem.
An important distinction here as well is that he required in the quid pro quo, there was a requirement to publicly announce these investigations, not just to hold these investigations. So I agree. If you're saying, right, okay, he has a duty to this office to actually have these investigations conducted, even whether or not he's withholding aid, and you're like, oh, well, he didn't intend to withhold. All of that aside, he asked them to publicly announce it immediately prior to the 2020 elections, right? So that's not right. You can't like tread in a line of, oh, this is
that's not illegal.
This is not a political. No, but it is. It is because he's extorting it for political gain. That is illegal.
Well, here's
that's
my
why
question.
He's being impeached, because it's against the law.
Why didn't he do this in 2017 and 2018, lecture?
Well, it's frankly, the reason he withheld the aid is because I don't know the timeline. I think the aid it wasn't appropriated in 2017, and Trump was actually going through all of this stuff earlier. But one of the primary reasons is because the Mueller investigation wasn't completed until much later in time, and a lot of and in fact, Trump's very first comment to the President Zelensky was actually about getting involved in the 2016 election interference by the Ukrainians, and it's perfectly rational for Trump to want them to make a public statement that they're investigating corruption, because that's actually that's how you provide enforceability to some of these provisions, because once they publicly announce it, then they actually have to do it. And it's common for American foreign policy to want countries to not be corrupt, and if we're going to give countries military aid, we want them to not be corrupt, and it's perfectly reasonable for Trump to want.
Congress approved that money. He was supposed to give it to them, right? Like, you can't just withhold that money.
No, he can. The president has wide. Actually, the president's power is at its highest in foreign policy.
The president.
And he certainly, and that's not, if that was a crime, then that's what would be in the articles of impeachment, that he couldn't have done it at all. That's not what that's not what the Democrats are alleging. The Democrats are alleging an improper purpose. It all goes to intent. Bastiat knows this. It's all about intent. You have to prove that in Trump's mind, Trump was doing this for the purpose of interfering in the 2020 election.
Just to be clear,
and without, if Trump's purpose for doing this was to further America's national security interests, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Just to be
That's
clear,
why Trump
since you've
released the
invoked
call.
this, since you invoked me
Wait,
here,
yeah.
the president does have the power to impound for a period of 45 days under I think the Impoundments Act of like 1974. I'm not 100% on the name of the law here, but it dates back to the Nixon administration because President Nixon tried to do this a lot. He would try to impound funds that were appropriated for a specific purpose. He just impound them endlessly and basically force Congress to do something about it. So under that law, the president has 45 days to impound. He can request Congress give him more time, but if Congress ignores him, he has to disperse the funds. The funds were not dispersed in this situation until I believe the 55th day, and by that point in time, the investigation which prompted the dispersal of funds ultimately had already begun. So I think it further demonstrates his nefarious intent in this situation, that he held on to the money and only let it go after the 45-day period when it was clear that this investigation was basically beginning because of this impoundment of funds. So I think that only furthers the argument for intent, personally.
Well,
He's still going to win 2020.
And I'll drop the link to this impoundment law so you guys can check it out.
He's still going to win. It doesn't matter. He's still going to win 2020. You know what I'm saying?
Another interesting wrinkle is that Donald Trump wants witnesses to come in the Senate. He wants a full-throated defense made of him in front of the world by witnesses. And that is in conflict with what the Senate Republicans want. They're concerned it'll be damaging to him, and that'll trickle down the ticket and damage them in turn.
It will be. It will be damaging. He doesn't realize that, and maybe it won't be, honestly, because a lot of things that we have thought would be damaging to him have not been damaging in the past.
Exactly, and please, guys,
now grab him by the pussy shit, like all of that, like all of it.
Here's something else I want to bring your attention to. You guys are not aware of this, and I actually talked about this on Twitch. I was saying that basically when you all are distracted with the impeachment, Donald Trump is packing the federal judges, okay?
That's true.
He's actually passing some executive orders, and you guys are not even catching him because he's, you too busy with the impeach. And it's like, and then here's the thing is Donald Trump is shaking and moving and doing shit right in your face, and you're not even aware of it.
No, but the fact that you're in support of that kind of like outrage.
I didn't say I was in support of it. I'm just giving you. I'm just giving you. No,
are you?
No,
are you? You seem proud.
Here's no. You stop projecting, okay? And you lefties, stop fucking goddamn assuming what the fuck I am and ask me and say, okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. By the way, here's the thing. Here's what y'all want. Here's the thing y'all should know about me. I am not part of Cult 45. Did you know that? Did you know that?
Part of what?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking
Cult 45. Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about the gun. Cult 45.
No, I'm not part of Cult 45. Like okay. So the thing about it is that I used to be a diehard Trump supporter until he started acting like a Democrat. Then I got off the Trump train. Okay. So the thing about it is, but even though I am not a supporter of Trump, I recognize what's going on both sides of the aisle and know that he's still going to win 2020. I am not saying I approve of what he's doing. There's a lot of shit I have judged and actually criticized Trump for doing. Okay. But the thing about it is that I am not delusional in not knowing that he is going to win.
You keep saying it like it's an absolute certainty.
Wait, where that money at? Can we get that money? Okay, so I need to make some money.
I really have to say, I love that. I love that. I liked Trump until he turned into a Democrat. That was so good.
Yeah.
Well, if Democrats were fair-minded, they'd give him all kinds of credit, especially for him being anti-war. He's the most anti-war president we've ever had, and he gets no credit from Democrats. But let me just say on this impeachment thing, even if everything you guys are saying about Trump's intent and the withholding of the aid and when he released it and that it was a nefarious purpose as opposed to him releasing it as part of a way to basically fight back against false allegations, which is what the whistleblower complaint was, is false allegations. Even if that's all true, even if Trump purposefully was withholding aid and there was a quid pro quo that they had to investigate Biden and Donald Trump was doing it with an eye towards the 2020 election, that's not an impeachable offense. You know why? Because Trump has all of the backing and legitimacy of the American people behind him when he's draining the swamp, and Joe Biden is a swamp rat.
Wait, was that a joke?
LCTRfan, I have to ask you, are you auditioning for Fox News right now? Because you are on point. I just want to be clear. I do not mean that as an insult in any way. You are on point. The way you delivered that was just mwah.
Yeah.
So good.
No, thank you, Bastiat. No, it's funny actually a lot. When in real life, when I talk to people and I say stuff, they're like, "You've been watching too much Sean Hannity, and I'm like, actually, I thought of that myself. I'm glad that you appreciate and think that I could potentially be like Sean Hannity.
Oh,
no,
Sean Hannity. Was that not a meme? Can we clear the air there? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I'm uncomfortable not knowing because I don't. It's really hard for me to tell.
I don't think it's a meme.
I think he's serious. I think he's
Are you
serious.
serious?
That's
serious.
Yeah,
I'm not. I mean, I'm not memeing. Occasionally I'll say something like sound like me, but I'm not memeing. I don't think LCTRfan is either.
No, I really do. I really do think that Joe Biden is corrupt, and I have no problem with Donald Trump trying to drain the swamp by draining out swamp rats like Joe Biden.
No problem with him extorting foreign governments and withholding aid for personal political gain.
No,
because it affects Joe Biden. No, but if he were doing that, right? Let's live in my hypothetical fairyland, right? Let's live in the lefty paradise.
Yeah.
If that were true, if he were extorting foreign governments for personal aid, would you or would you not be against that? Even if it coincidentally affected Joe Biden?
Well, I mean, I guess I guess I wouldn't be if it was solely that. If there was some incidental actual corruption by Joe Biden that he was actually going at, and that's why I said there was some portion of, if it was some portion of Trump's mind that he was like, yeah, this might help me politically, but there was also maybe even a tiny portion of his mind that said, you know what, this is actually really sketchy, and Joe Biden is a little bit corrupt, and I think we ought to investigate Joe Biden, as long as there was some inkling of, hey, this guy's a swamp rat.
Primarily motivated by done it without extorting Ukraine. Why couldn't he have, basic, why did he have to extort Ukraine to do this shit? That's what I'm wondering here, right? Because it's one thing to be like, hey, can you investigate? And it's another thing to be withholding funds to force a foreign nation to comply with you.
Well, I honestly think that so Donald Trump has been very consistent on his foreign policy with respect to American aid. He is very sick of the United States paying for everybody's aid and not getting anything in return, and Europe not paying their fair share. And it's completely consistent with not only Donald Trump's overall foreign policy, but with his respect to his specific Europe policy and NATO policy, for Trump to want Germany and France and other EU countries to pitch into this. And if you actually read the transcript, Donald Trump mentions in that call that Germany and France are not doing enough to help out Ukraine, and Donald Trump is sick of America protecting Europe's ass all the time with no help from the Europeans. So that's why he withheld the aid. And that's why it happened. He
never said why he withheld the aid. Let's start there.
No, he did. He said he withheld aid because he wanted Europe to pitch in. He's sick of America paying for everything.
Okay, let's find the transcript right now. He never specified why he withheld it. But anyways,
more importantly,
we live in a democracy, okay? We live in a democracy where we have three branches of the government.
We live in a democratic republic.
Democratic republic. Okay, we still go.
Constitutional republic.
Okay, regardless, right? Trump is not a fucking king. I am happy you have three branches of government because they're supposed to supposedly, theoretically, even each other out. Just because Trump has a personal vendetta or whatever doesn't mean he can just be like, fuck Congress, I am not going to deliver this aid. That would make him a fucking king. That would make him above Congress. And I don't think that's right, okay? Like, I'm not here to live in a dictatorship or in a one-man state. Like, what the hell?
Well, why don't the Democrats impeach him for just the simple act of withholding aid then? Why do they have to tack on all of this quid pro quo and abuse of power stuff?
I think that's, I think that includes all of that.
Yeah,
that's
it
part
includes
of it, right?
all of it.
It's a nice package.
Oh my gosh! Trump wanted other European countries to contribute.
Yeah, let me push back on that notion too. Like that European countries are not
misdemeanors. The misdemeanors are included in the high crimes, in both of which are in the impeachment proceedings.
Yeah, I guess I would ask, like, what's the value of even this discussion when it seems like impeachment is inevitable? And even if you don't concede that impeachment is inevitable, removal from office is, come on, let's be fucking realistic, right? Like, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it's
He's not going to get removed
Not
from
likely.
office.
No, of course not.
He's not going to get removed.
what are the odds? So
that's my question is, the Democrats have known from the very beginning that this was not going to result in his removal. So if you knew it was doomed to failure from the start, why would you proceed moving
Because
forward
they wanna
with
be in the
something that's
right
going to
place.
take a
There's
long
a
time?
Very good
and a bunch
question.
of
Very
money
good question.
when you
There's
know
a
it's
value
going
to
to fail.
process, even if you don't think that the outcome
Agreed.
is likely to go
what
your
is
way.
what is the value,
That's it.
Bastiat? I'm asking.
What's that?
I'm asking someone I know.
The value to
right?
process is one, at least through the impeachment process, all of this stuff has been laid out before the American people to make their own
Sure.
decisions
I'm
about.
more aware.
The investigation has been very thorough into this issue now. The president's allies in Congress have at least had to answer and for some of what he has done, and they will ultimately have to go out and vote as to their opinion on this, and their name will be recorded in line with basically protecting this administration forever. So to the extent
Democrats
that more
are literally
comes
leaving
out
the party.
someday,
Yeah,
even
you
if
guys
even
have
if you
one
think
somebody
impeachment is not going
defect
anywhere.
and leave the Democratic Party and join the Republican
Well,
side.
well,
I
You
think
guys are
ultimately
losing all
every
around, dude.
Republican who votes to keep him in office is now connected to him for the duration of his term. Come what may, they will be responsible for
fair.
all of his doings in
Agreed.
office now. by
Which
virtue
is
of
great
keeping
because
their-
his numbers are up.
People,
His
no,
poll
no,
numbers
but
are up.
the people who refuse,
Yeah, they are.
And one
the
other
people
point,
who
though,
refuse to have a
yeah.
fair trial, the people who refuse to
Yeah.
hold a fair trial in the impeachment proceedings will have that. That is now documented.
Yeah.
It's not something that's like out in the open. It's not a what if.
Yep.
It's not, oh,
Okay,
I didn't do this, I
it's
wouldn't have done this.
documented,
It's
but
recorded.
here's my question, North. Love the hat, by the way. So what? So, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's not going to
The traitors,
get his-
have been written down. Their names are known. They're on the
History.
list.
Okay, so in a more important question, you
That's
think this
spooky when you put it
treat
that way.
High
earlier?
crimes makes them traitors to this country.
Well, I don't
You
know.
wanna say something?
I don't know about it. I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
lecture.
Defending
Lecture-
no. I would argue, and I would insist on this, that in like not having a fair trial in an impeachment proceeding and insisting that you will not have a fair trial in an impeachment proceeding is if it's not sedition like sedative, it's or whatever that word is, it's
Yeah.
fucking it's
Seditious.
definitely goddamn traitorous.
Well,
Or like it's subverting like the spirit of the Constitution.
No, but you
Yeah, I'll
understand
go with
that
that.
you guys
I'll go
feel
with
that
that.
way. You understand that you have half of America that totally disagrees with you, and they actually have the impeachment on ignore.
That disagrees with the process of that there should be a fair trial. What
No,
part of America
no,
thinks that there shouldn't be a
actually,
fair
they
trial?
disagree with the whole impeachment process.
That's
They don't-
fine. That's fine. But I don't think anyone should disagree that if impeachment is brought to the Senate, that a fair trial should be conducted, which is the thing that Mitch McConnell said he would not do.
Right, but
And
That's
guess
what-
what? And guess what? People who support Trump and the Republicans stand behind the turtle.
Yeah, but that's not the way. It shouldn't be about like political. Like it
No,
shouldn't
it
be a
shouldn't.
football
it's
team.
absolutely true.
Well,
in the
here-
way
here's
that you,
the
the way
thing,
that you
like, it
conduct
should be.
trials in the United States. That's bullshit.
It
I
should
agree.
be. I think what the Senate's doing, there's no obligation for the Senate to take up with the very serious and somber tone impeachment trial when it's an illegitimate process from the start where the Democrats didn't follow norms and due process procedures, and so
How is this
the
process illegitimate?
the
how?
Republicans are supposed to treat something as serious when it's a hoax. No, it should be
How
treated
is it
as
a
a
hoax?
How is it a hoax?
Clearly established that Trump did something he wasn't supposed to do, period.
No, that hasn't been established.
So wait, so you think that him going against Congress, releasing the money after the talk, specifically after asking for a personal favor, you think that
It wasn't a
there's-
personal favor. He asked
He
for a
did.
favor
He
for
literally
us.
asked for a favor.
yeah,
For
he didn't-
us.
And he sent his
United
States.
personal attorney over there to do it. Rudy.
I would like-
Any
I would
Rudy
like-
fans in chat?
I would like everyone to go follow twitch.tv/A4Andre for us. It's good for us. It's a matter of like,
Well
praise
done.
it for us. I want to grow my, and that really has been Trump's presidency. It's very transactional. He only does what's good for Donald Trump. And you can put an American flag behind him when he says it, but I think you're the disillusioned one if you really believe it's for us. Now, since I have the floor, I want to ask again, because this is the TreeofLogic and LCTRfan. Like, you really think so? In my mind, I think that this impacts Trump's credibility, whether he wins or not. But I think you guys would argue that it sort of bolsters the campaign in 2020. You don't think that this? I mean,
Oh my God, it's not even making a
Yeah.
dent. It's
It
just
makes
increasing
the
the
look
numbers.
hard.
no. I bet it's like
They
taking momentum. You think this is giving him? You think now people think he's the Teflon Don, as my boy Guy said. You think he's invincible now, and most Americans see it that way?
Now I'll let LCTRfan answer his reason why, but I'm gonna tell you what I see. What I see is people who are so sick of the PC, the culture from the left, the cancel culture, the whole deplatforming. They're so tired of this shit that they're just going to vote, and they love the way Trump trolls and how it triggers the shit out of you guys. Okay, I mean, this man does some stupid shit on Twitter, and you guys make that shit the front page news. CNN, Don Lemon lost his shit when Trump put his head on Thanos and snapped his fingers and made Pelosi and what's the other guy who looks like his grandfather? They make him disappear.
Engaging in such like debaucherous fucking
you guys
Twitter rants. Like that's bullshit.
No. Here's the thing: you guys lose your shit when Trump memes, and basically because a lot of people on the right don't know how to fight. I should know, because basically I clowned them for being cowards and getting their ass beat for wearing a mega hat. My thing is, like, if you're gonna wear a mega hat, at least learn how to fucking fight. You know, you don't have to get your ass beat all the goddamn time. But here's the thing. So they look to Trump and live vicariously to Trump to own the libs. So to vote for Trump is to own the libs, to own you guys, and that's just what it's all about.
I agree with TreeofLogic. I honestly think that.
I think there is a huge amount of just, I want to own the libs. I don't care what else, as long as I own those libs.
Yeah,
I mean, they're better than me. They get better than me.
What kind of life is that, though, Tree?
Yeah,
what kind of life is
I
that?
don't know how you can take your vote and cast it for that reason.
Not they.
What about you? What about you?
I don't like y'all either, but I'm beginning to love.
Come on now.
Wow.
No. Some of y'all growing on me. No. I have to admit, I started to my heart started to soften a little bit for some of y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'll take that.
And some of y'all not.
Nah, you're wrong for that.
Some of y'all.
Notice she's not saying names.
Lecture, you think this gives Trump momentum? You think this makes him more successful, or potentially more successful in the 2020?
So I assume you're asking me, since you were asking us both. But let me just say something here really quick. I've always said, kind of from the very beginning, that the 2020 election is going to come down mostly to who the Democrats nominate. And so I think, and there's a lot of other things going on here that are impacted by what's going on. Like the incredible week Trump had last week with getting the Space Force passed, getting border wall funding, getting USMCA finally agreed to by Congress. Very weird sort of that would happen during impeachment week. And I think that plays into it. I think if you actually go back to the beginning of this impeachment thing, there was two primary factors that motivated this impeachment thing. Number one is Nancy Pelosi wanting to keep her job because she was getting extreme pressure from the far left to do impeachment, and if she didn't, she was gonna lose the support of the Democrat Party, and so Nancy Pelosi wanted to keep her job. Secondly, and primarily, the Democratic field is so incredibly weak. This is one of the weakest fields I think a major party's seen in their candidates for a long time. That I think Nancy Pelosi decided at that point that she needs to do the Hail Mary pass and do the impeachment, because if she doesn't, and Al Green admitted this publicly, if they don't impeach him, then the Democrats are going to lose. Now, I think that impeachments that fail, just like what happened with Bill Clinton, typically support the president, because the thought process that most Americans are going to have is that, okay, you guys knew from the beginning that this was going to fail. You could have done all of these things that are good for the country, and instead you chose to impeach. That's why I think this is why this is kind of all connected. That's why the Democrats decided to pass USMCA, pass the Space Force, do all these things make Trump have the best week of his presidency last week. And so now Democrats can say, oh, well, look, we did impeachment and we also did USMCA. We also did Space Force. And so I think all of these things kind of play into it. I think what the Democrats are hoping is that they can, fight off those arguments about wasting time by saying they did these things and stain Trump enough with the impeachment that it actually hurts Trump. But I do think it's going to backfire, because politics 101 is always about getting out your base to vote. And I think the Democrats are in between a rock and a hard place with their candidates. They've got Joe Biden as the front runner, who does not excite the Democratic base. People are not going to be excited.
Stupid shit.
People are not going to. And if the Democrats then go with one of the other non-Joe Biden candidates, they're going to alienate huge chunks of the American populace who aren't that extreme. And meanwhile, Donald Trump's base is super fired up and is going to be very motivated to vote sort of regardless of who the Democrats get because of this impeachment. So I think you take all of those sort of different factors in together, and it looks like a Trump 2020 landslide.
Well, so
I have a question. I have a question.
Has been going against Trump recently. So you think they're going to flip sometime next year?
You guys don't look at the polls, because remember that the polls said that Hillary is going to win by a landslide, and look what happened. But I have a question: are you guys still devoted on, or are you together on vote blue no matter who? Because I keep hearing people saying if Bernie don't win, you're not voting. So is that what is the
party unity? It's party unity. How dare you? I'll leave right now.
I would definitely vote. Well, I'm definitely voting for whoever the Democrat is right now, but even if Secretary Clinton enters the race, who I love and adore, I'm a big supporter of the Clinton Foundation, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, I hope no matter who. And I do want to say, though, the polls come around. I don't know that the polls were wrong. It was what people chose to do with the polls in terms of saying, well, these polls show that there's like a
come on now. They were saying that Trump was going to lose to. Okay, go ahead.
Well, what you're referencing is that they, like the New York Times said, there's a 97% chance that Trump's going to lose.
Not only them though,
based on the polls.
CNN.
Right?
Now I don't know about real clear politics. I don't.
Well, what I'm saying is, all I'm saying is that the people who aggregated the polls and who said they mean this were mistaken, but I don't believe the polls themselves were mistaken. So
wait a minute, you're saying that the polls lied, that Hillary's supposed to have won the electoral vote?
No, I think the polls were wrong. That Trump had a 97% chance of losing. The polls were not wrong though about like who was going to win what state or like
the poll. Most of them. If I don't remember seeing any poll that said now I could be wrong. That said that Trump had a chance. It was always in Hillary was going to win by a landslide.
97% chance of winning doesn't mean that it's like a 97-3 like split.
The
it was always
odds of
like
winning,
the odds are in favor here, and here. So
I didn't see any polls that said that Trump was going to basically win. It was all about Hillary. And so what I'm saying is that I thought that should be a lesson of we shouldn't really cater to polls. Let's see what happens after the election.
The aftermath of.
I don't know. I guess I'm generally skeptical of notions that real statistical data is just like, well, we don't really need to trust it, because I mean, if anything, polls are probably.
Well, I don't fucking trust it because it gave me to me. I actually was depressed because I listened to those polls. Then when I woke, because I didn't even watch the election, I went to sleep thinking that heifer was going to win. And then when I woke up and Trump won,
did you just call Secretary Clinton of the heroic Clinton Foundation a heifer?
Yeah, because that bitch lied about keeping hot sauce in her purse to pander to black people.
Let me tell you something about Hillary Clinton. She's a woman of integrity, grace, and goodwill, and I'm definitely not saying that because I'm worried she's going to murder me, okay?
Do not be victim number 70.
I will not be.
Well, listen, guys, it is now 10 p.m. on the West Coast. I always believe in leaving the people wanting more. We could go all night here. This has been a real fun group. But I say we go out on a high note here. So I wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for joining and keeping it civil and showing that people with such different political views can get along just fine and express themselves fully. I think that's really important. Everything that was said tonight is great, but it's the action, the visual of all of us coming together that really sends a big message. And I appreciate you guys all participating in that.
This was super fun. I feel like
actually this was a fun group. I don't know if you're going to get a good group like this again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I feel like this was
group you ever had.
This really was a lot of fun. TreeofLogic is really nice to meet you. You've been a fucking
nice to meet you.
It's good to meet you, Trey. And
nice to meet you too, Bastiat and Andre.
Yeah.
Dude, you held it down.
Yeah. This is definitely one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite ones I've ever done.
And what is I'm sorry, I would like to know more about you, Dr. Leon. I'm sorry, am I pronouncing?
Oh, ciphers.
Ciphers.
Yeah, it's like German.
Rap cipher.
Oh.
Well, he streams, so we're actually going to let's all do a shout out here. So, and I'll plug everybody's channels I'll plug everybody's channels in the chat. So, LCTRfan, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm LCTRfan. I'm a conservative, obviously. I stream every night and I do gaming on the weekend, so come check it out.
Awesome. And Leon, if you could give a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah, my name is Leon Cyphers. I do a lot of podcasts, so I do a group with smaller streamers on Monday, and then Friday I work with Mindwaves, who couldn't be here tonight, and we do another podcast. So if that sounds like fun, stop by.
Awesome. Andre, always a pleasure.
Man, Guy, thanks for having me. Shout out to Kurishumo. Invite me to as many of these things. I always have a blast. If I can take a quick second, we did a charity in October we called it A4 Awareness, but two women, I play fighting games, two women at the largest fighting game tournament of the year were drugged. Actually, three people, two women and a guy. And then same thing happened at TwitchCon. Three more people were drugged. And we really wanted to do something about it. We raised a bunch of money and we're buying a bunch of these sip chips. They're drink testing kits. You can dip your finger in the drink. And then you can put it on the chip, and within 30 seconds, it tells you whether your drink is safe to consume or not. We are all done with that, but we raised a bunch of money. We're buying these chips, and we're going to take them to both TwitchCon and EVO next year to make partying and drinking safer. We're looking for another charity, another cause to fund in January. So all my revenue, like bits, donations, subs, ad revenue, I have a day job, so I don't need that shit. So we'll put that towards another A4 Awareness charity in January. So find me on Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, MySpace, Instagram, Tinder. No, I've got a girlfriend, but seriously, find me wherever. Pitch your charity ideas. We definitely want to raise more money, bring light to more issues. A4 Awareness is important to me. We want to help. So yeah, thank you again for the time and the plug, Guy.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, I plugged his channel there in the chat. Check him out. Bastiat.
All right. So thanks again for the invite, Yuri, and thanks again to Kurishumo too for the invite and helping get this organized as well. The invisible hand behind so much of what we all do here on Political Twitch. So yeah, it was a blast being here as always. As I was saying before, I'm looking forward to the next one. And yeah, again, for those who may not know me or who may like me after all of those rants and raves. My name is Bastiat. You can find me on twitch.tv/BASTIAT. I'm a neoliberal corporate attorney. I work in the fossil fuel industry, and I love this great country of ours, the US of A. So definitely be sure to check it out sometime. We have a whole lot of fun talking about law and politics, economics, history, and the occasional conspiracy theory. So I hope to see you soon.
Awesome. And my favorite Puerto Rican on the platform, Pxie.
Hi, I'm Pxie. As you see, I really like talking politics and talking to new people online every day. You guys have been really fun to talk to. I really enjoyed our conversation today. And I actually have a podcast I host on Wednesdays as well, if anybody wants to look at it. You've been a really great host. I'm really important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super good.
Yeah. Thanks.
Let me just say I really enjoyed tonight too, and I don't have any personal animus or ill will towards anybody on the stream. I love to get animated about politics, and I can get into it pretty viciously, but I hope nobody else feels any, negative feelings towards that. I don't feel negatively towards any of you, even if I got riled up and fired up on any of these things. And
that's what made it good, though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
Serious? That's what it made.
Yeah.
You need the content.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a person on the platform I disagree with more politically, but I could still consider a friend. So it's always fun talking to you, Lexi.
Yeah. And I'm really important. I think that's why folks like Granddad Christmas are so quick to tell me, tell I'm really important that I love him.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm in like with you, Granddad. I'm not ready for that yet. But
I meant to say, LCTRfan, great talking with you again. Leon, great talking with you too. Andre, it's always good to see you. Pxie, you too. Mage, by the way, LCTRfan and I gotta get you all the way on the law pill here. You gotta. He's flirting with the idea. You should definitely go all in.
It's sitting there. The recommendations are filed away. It's
good.
Wow.
Yeah. And Tree, it was such a pleasure to meet you. I hope we can talk again sometime.
Me
soon.
too. Yeah, I enjoyed you.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we got 2 more left here. North and Mage. North, always a pleasure. Glad I got to talk to you. Glad it's interesting to see one of the 14 people still playing WoW Classic on Twitch. So.
No, I'm not even streaming it though. That's the problem. I can't stream it. It's impossible to stream because I do the same thing over and over and over again, 14 hours a day. And it's like I'll go live doing the thing that I'm doing. Like if I have like a small break from the shit that I'm grinding, I'll quickly I have to throw up my stream because it's like some break from the monotony. That or it's me getting drunk and screaming at everyone in my voice chat. Like those are the 2 things that I can currently do that are enough content to feed. So it's nice being honest. I'm still grinding that same thing. I've been in Alterac Valley for fucking 14 hours today, and I was doing it the entire fucking podcast. So thank you for having me on. It's breaking the monotony. It's a ton of fun. Tree, it was wonderful meeting you, LCTRfan. Always. I'm not gonna say a pleasure. It's always interesting. It's always interesting when you're around. But I do enjoy it. So it is a pleasure. Andre, nice to meet you. Bastiat, always a pleasure. Pxie, of course, as well. Cypher's, nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a ton of fun.
Awesome, man.
And I've learned a thing or two.
Yeah, that's what's great. And my newest crush, TreeofLogic. Thank you for coming on here. I dared her to come into my safe space.
Sure did. Talk shit to me in DMs, man.
I had to talk some serious
major shit, dude. I just want to say I don't think you're ever gonna find a good chemistry, different opinions than this panel right here. I don't think you're gonna find one that's more entertaining. And even though we disagree, we still basically have respect for one another and we have fun with each other. And I'm sorry, you ain't gonna find it anymore. I mean, you try to.
This was impressive. This was impressive. It wasn't all lefties. I'm really impressed by that.
Yeah.
I was honestly floored. I was like, when I saw this many flags, I was like, holy shit! It's gonna be a good one, boy.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm a big fan I'm a big believer in you got to be friends with people first before you can start talking about some real topics. You know what I mean? So I try really hard to make friends with people first, and then we can get into it.
Yeah. This was cool. And I'm on Twitch every Sunday at 8:00 p.m. Twitch.tv/TreeofLogic.
Awesome. So one last time,
I shot myself out. It's just North the Mage, just everything on every platform: Twitch, Twitter. Twitch and Twitter.
Not Tinder.
Awesome. Yeah, I put everybody's
not yet. I'm thinking about that though. I've been thinking about just re-uploading like pictures of me on Twitch onto my Tinder because I don't use it. With the hat on.
Do it.
And just be like, who's gonna bite on this? Who's gonna bite? No one will, but who the fuck's gonna bite?
Awesome. Well, I put everybody's links one more time in the chat. Give these folks a follow. These are some of the amazing people talking politics on this platform. And I'm really happy I got to meet all these people. And thank you guys all for hanging out in the chat and hanging out with us and great conversations out there. I'm going to end the call and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks again.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.